Reviewing a Dream Theater album is very dangerous only 48 hours after it came out, so we are bringing back for the first time in a while the FBI disclaimer. The opinions in this video, and all videos, are subject to change, but especially this one. Initially when the singles came out, the first one, The Alien, it sounded like Dream Theater released a great song in Pale Blue Dot from their previous album, then decided that we never need to make another song again. What we're gonna do from now on is just release that song but then change the title. Coming off of Distance Over Time, it was a solid album. It still does not rank among my top favorites. So it's really been a decade since their last true classic, A Dramatic Turn of Events, and it's really been a steady decline since then. So I wasn't really expecting the world from this new album, let alone the top of it. But as we know, even Dream Theater's worst album is better than 99% of all other music.
I agree with you. When I first listened to it, besides Pale Blue Dot and Barstool Warrior, I really wasn't too impressed. Now, at this point in their career, it's impressive to see that they can still keep the roots of what makes them who they are. Even if DT does go into the formula approach, it's definitely above any form of caveman sounds or pots and pans banging.
I keep realizing that I forget to talk about this for the people who haven't seen our videos before. Pale Blue Dot is an experiment we wanted to see after receiving some awesome comments from the community around the world, and we wanted to see just how far the Dream Theater fan base reaches. We got some great results. We have almost every corner of the globe. The only thing you need to do to get on it, leave a comment with how you got into Dream Theater and where you're from, and you will be on it in the next Dream Theater video, which hopefully will be our Awake review sometime in November and December. We have a big project coming from that's coming along fantastic, and we will be releasing the review immediately after that. I also want to thank the fans too, leaving comments letting us know that they're looking forward to our next review. When I'm editing videos at 2 in the morning, it really convinces me not to get in the car, turn it on with the garage door closed, knowing that people are looking forward to these videos. So thank you to all of our subscribers.
Yeah.
Without further Bovine Excrement, The Alien. So let's fuck with everyone. Let's release one of the worst songs on the album as a single. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. And then we'll have the next one be a radio song and just make everyone want to kill themselves. I love the building up of energy, great riffage, awful transition into the solo. Or actually, there wasn't really a transition into the solo. They couldn't have taken like an extra 3 seconds to, just like slow it down. I do like the solo though.
It had a very explosive classic Dream Theater start. Transition was rough in the beginning. The main riff of itself fit the pace of the song. I do agree that another song on here would have been a better single.
James was great on this whole album with the different vocal layers and the chorus effects that he used. But I don't know who put together the structure of this first verse. Awkward lyrical structure and pretty bad melody, but the terrific chorus and amazing post-chorus more than make up for it.
James doesn't deliver a live performance and he stays in his perfect range.
Mangini takes full advantage of the building energy too, pounding the shit out of that kick drum. And Jordan and John sound really well balanced together with the harmonizations. The third quarter of every Dream Theater song is reserved for one of two things. The first one is just like plebeian crushing, caveman melting, intense proggery. See Metropolis Part 1. Or John and Jordan take turns nutting all over that section of the song. And that's unfortunately what we get on the latter here.
I love John Myung's bass accents. The instrumental breaks seemed chaotic at points. After further listening to it, it does actually have accents of some structure for it, but definitely not the best.
I think the biggest culprit of that is Jordan, where he decided instead of a keyboard solo, let's just go for keyboard noises.
Also, like how we started this off, this song is pretty much almost the same concept as Pale Blue Dot, so it's like the same thing, just different name.
While it's ridiculously inconsistent, it's packed with some great elements worth coming back to, so I give this one a 7.
I give this one a 7.5.
You gotta give it to them. They are really killing the intros here.
Such a monstrous guitar ring and Jordan's background, and they have different tones almost each time.
Jordan has outstanding contributions with his glassy and spacey bell sounds to enhance the beginning, and especially following Petrucci with his more percussive tone. Love the chorus structure, specifically the pacing between the release of James singing and the tension building with the return of the main riff in between. This is not strong in the lyric department, but I noticed that on pretty much this entire album, lyrics were kind of an afterthought. They wrote like this fantastic instrumental version, and they're like, oh, we need lyrics to fuck. James is on the payroll, damn it. There are a lot of moments on here, and really this whole album that sound a lot like previous songs, especially this one sounds a little bit like At Wit's End to me, which granted is a great song. The transition into the instrumental break was a little bit goofy, but they deliver on the break itself, although it's basically kind of just your standard Dream Theater bridge. It's a brilliant example of what I was talking about earlier on in the video about how you can't really judge a Dream Theater album right after it comes out. The first time I listened to this, I actually had it at a 6, then coming back to it today to listen again, turned into a 7.5.
I have to give this one a 7.
Another great example, I know this one's gonna be a little bit controversial, but what a ridiculous tone from Petrucci with the piezo, with the phaser and the chorus. At first I thought it was Jordan helping out a little bit with the effects. Even though it's more of a caveman friendly song, Petrucci lays a simpler but more creative foundation. What really made it stand out to me is when he kind of broke it down. He takes that pull me under chord and shifts it around to create this really spooky melody, and I think that's the difference between really understanding the structure of a song and just listening as a casual listener. Seeing the song broken down really gave me a new perspective.
I really wish that intro was dragged out a little more. It was just so brief. And John Myung can also could be heard, which is always a plus.
Mangini's a little bit dialed back, but the production-wise, he sounds fantastic. I haven't checked with the snare police from the self-titled album, who apparently think that was the Saint Anger snare or something. To me, this sounded fantastic.
Saint Anger. I felt like it lacked its own identity in a way. You know, like we said before, and especially in this one, the lyrics department is kind of lacking. Underwhelming approach towards it with such a great topic in mind. Even though I don't think this is one of the best ones, I do like the points you make with the video. It's always cool to see how somebody makes a song into what it is, and that's what separates prog from caveman, seeing what it takes to really bring songs like this alive.
Then there's that one part where they're building tension, and then all of a sudden a show tune breaks out and just totally ruins the whole flow of the song. Jordan adding the harpsichord to John's solo actually sounds way better than it does on paper. So I would actually give this one an 8.
6.5.
Yeah, this is the weakest on the album by far. There were people on the Reddit just acting like this was a gift from God or something. Well, most of the songs up to this point stick very close to the formula. At least they have their own different, unique accent. Not only is this one devoid of any of its own identity, it's like stretched out like this, like you were to take one of the last songs and just put it on half speed.
Yeah, definitely the runtime was longer than I think it needed to be, but I did enjoy the kind of eerie horror movie headphone panning intro. You know, that also pains me when you see a song that's maybe not as up to par, but you see all this in-depth processes they use to make it sound more intricate. It shows how much work they still put into it.
The only thing that really stuck out to me was Jordan's Dance of Eternity-esque solo. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, they stick to the formula. But it is the Dream Theater formula, so therefore, there's nothing wrong with that. Give it a 6.
A 6.5.
What is this, the third Rush song they released in the last 4 albums? Rush mastered the art of making a really upbeat but still kick-ass rock song, so it's good to see they borrowed their formula that works for this one.
Each member really molds perfectly with the main riff, and this riff is just so well put together. Great to see how John, you know, after making countless riffs over the years, be able to bring out something fresh in now.
I think the best word to use is majestic. They brilliantly blend soft with hard, and Mike does a great Neil impression, especially with the hi-hat work, really intricate. That's something that Neil was very famous for on top of the bell use. Even Jordan dials in the moogly, which I actually found out yesterday. He actually did use the same moog that, or moog if you're an asshole, that Getty used for songs like Xanadu and Subdivisions.
Jordan has the perfect tone and addition and follow-up. I always love his soft piano over his alien invasion sounds. Dreamy atmosphere and very uplifting. John Myung does some awesome bass slides and his own like riff and his own identity, and it's just awesome. Soft piano outro was just perfectly placed.
I think what makes that outro solo so special is Jordan does exactly what I think he needs to do more, is that he puts together this really complex solo, but it's not eccentric. It's just really beautiful and well structured. This is probably the most fun on this album. Give it an 8.5.
Definitely one of the more upbeat and unique songs on the album. I give it a 9.
Wonder how much Music Man paid for this commercial on this Dream Theater album. Why does every song on this album sound like a Beavis and Butthead Boner reference? Awaken the Master, Sleeping Giant,
Invisible Monster.
Invisible Monster. If you're unlucky, Invisible Monster. So as far as the 8-string goes, I think having an extended range guitar like a 7-string or an 8-string is really, really awesome as a player. It expands so much more range for you. But I think when you get to 8, it's kind of gratuitous. The riff he creates, maybe it's just because of the single notes. The low F sharp is like barely audible. Where I do think it really shines those, and the big chords with Jordan's snarling pig paired with it sounds really, really awesome.
Hardcore Dream Theater fans who enjoy the more heavy side were definitely happy to see this one. More chocolate cake work, definitely.
We don't like to steal memes here on the show, but I had to steal this one because it was fucking awesome.
Mike is just so solid on the kit. I mean, sometimes I just forget because he does his job so well. Portnoy was more flashy, whereas Mike is just as good. He's there to do a job, and he's just excellent.
Shout out to Andy Sneap for somehow allowing John Myung to be audible despite JP stepping on his toes with the 8-string. Also, just the fact that John Myung is John Myung.
John Myung being one of probably the greatest bass players and musicians of this era, 99.5% of the time never even being heard in the mix, just really blows my mind, especially someone in his skill. Like, if I had to go in and make this album where each song is like 10 minutes and the last one being 20 minutes, and then we sat down to listen to it and I could hear myself maybe like 3 to 4 times, I would just put my hands up and say, why did I even come into the studio? Him being the silent man, I guess it just doesn't bother him.
But I haven't really heard him in interviews talk about that, mostly because the only interview I've seen with him, he was actively trying to escape the interviewers while they were asking him questions, and also this one.
John, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
No.
As far as the overall quality of this song, I think it goes pretty middle of the pack. Most of the attention is coming from the 8-string, so I give this one a 6.5.
Definitely more mid. I give it a 7.
A view from the top of your mom. Getting the strong Hans Zimmer vibes. Christian Bale is about to show up in the tumbler.
This is exactly how you do an epic. Heavy, hard-hitting sound, the soft, majestic soul feel, the prog elitist riffs and time signature changes, and just overall explosion of prog.
Straight power with the booming kick, the symphony, the genting. It evolves with the time signatures too really nicely, just to filter out all the cavemen that might still be listening. I'm not sure who was ripping ass right before James came in, but I get what they were going for. I know we got the chocolate cake here, but I think John Myung just destroyed the toan contest on this album. Cliff is smiling, and Justin Chancellor is sweating. And what a kick-ass riff he writes by himself, too.
Perfect.
It would not be a DT instrumental break on an epic without the classic explosion of prog section. And I flipped shit when JP started playing that mirror riff with the clean section. Listen to that tone.
This is how you do the epic, unlike on the self-titled where it was the bowl of chili and you got genting and then Mozart in the background and then like birds chirping and all this random bullshit.
This is the total opposite with masterfully constructed seamless transitions. I think the highlight of the song, and I think you'd agree, is the Mission Impossible riff to start the final part. I haven't heard stuff this heavy hitting and punch you in the mouth from them in a while, probably since a dramatic turn of events.
Mike comes in with an insane drum fill to lead into that Mission Impossible riff that you were talking about. Again, perfect structure. It's like if they knew listeners would be like 15, 16 minutes in, like, all right, you know, this is good, but what's next? And then just bam, kick you right in the teeth. Everything about this is just so well thought out.
This is, I think, easily the best on the album, and probably their best song since Breaking All Illusions. The only one I can think of that comes close is Pale Blue Dot. So, give this one a 9.
Fantastic way to end the album. Give this one a 9 as well.
Overall, they yeeted the fuck out of my expectations, even with the first few listens. Way better than Distance Over Time. Way better than The Astonishing, although I think When Dream and Day Unite is better than The Astonishing. And I'd give it the edge over self-titled too, and it comes damn near close to a dramatic turn of events.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, everything you described is exactly how I'm feeling. My expectations blown out of the water. You know, first 2 singles, remember we were texting each other and we were like, you know, it's all right. And then it came out and just really slapped me across the face. And I was like, all right, hell yeah.
Had a much slower start, but definitely not weaker. And it just gets better with almost every song. As they age, they're definitely going to settle more into the formula that works. But songs like Transcending Time and the title track show how much creativity they still have left in the tank, now approaching their mid to late 50s, Jordan already being almost 70. On top of this album, we just got this one from the two of them earlier this year. So I'd say the future's looking good, and even much better than a couple years ago. I'd give this one an 8.
Give this one a 7.5.